What if I told you that the vast array of choices you have is actually hurting your overall wellness, especially as a physician? Well, truth be told, it is. And the paradox of choice, which was coined by Barry Schwartz, Dr. Barry Schwartz, couldn't be more true in the world of medicine today. And indeed, as it relates to our overall wellness as physicians. So let's start with an example that many of you have encountered, undoubtedly, especially if you're a parent. And years ago, when I was a young father, I was driving home from a day shift, and my wife had called and asked to pick up, some diapers as we were running low. We only had a few left. And I happily agreed, but I went to local Target, and rather than the usual spot that we used to go to, which was our local grocery store, and to my dismay, I got to Target and found that they didn't carry the particular brand of diapers that we bought. And also to my dismay, that there were 294 different brands of diapers, each with its own sizes, leak protection, colors, and we'll call them benefits. And I left there more upset than happy and drove to the local grocery store, where I should have gone to, and just picked up the ones where I usually go. In his book, The Paradox of Choice, Why Less is More, Schwartz recalled a similar story about his local grocery store and the 175 choices he had with salad dressing. He further recounts a scenario with which we are intimately familiar with, the doctor-patient relationship. Simply, he recalls that years ago, a doctor would tell a patient what they had and offer a solution or prescription. Nowadays, he recalls a recent visit to his own doctor and involves giving a patient a suspected diagnosis or a problem, and with various treatment options, patient option A or option B. And the patient is left wondering, what should I choose? Where the doctor would go over the risks and benefits of each modality and place the burden of choice back onto the patient. And this dance goes on back and forth, and ultimately, no satisfying decision is actually made. And that's the crux of it, the crux of paradox of choice, and it's destroying our wellness, especially as physicians. So what is it? Well, the paradox of choice causes paralysis rather than freedom. The basic assumption, as Schwartz mentions, is that more choices result in more freedom, but in reality, it hinders us from moving forward. It paralyzes us from making any choice at all. In fact, you can't regret a decision that you don't make, so you don't make a decision at all. And we see this in medicine all the time. I've been so lucky to have worked and still work with some of the most exceptional physicians and nurses and mentors. But I especially remember my medicine attending as a newly minted first-year intern. And it so happened that I started on the liver renal service on July 1st at this large academic teaching hospital. And for those of you who had the privilege of being on a liver renal service, know the one thing is those patients are really, really sick. And as an intern, I used to agonize over simple decisions such as pain medication and diet orders. And yes, those are decisions that need to be thoughtful, but I was paralyzed with the decision and ultimately made no decision at all. And luckily, the following day, in his caring and his Socratic approach, my medicine attendant reminded me, Harry, there's no decision that is worse than a decision. And I needed to hear that, and I've kept that phrase in my psyche since that day. I've shared it with hundreds of medical students, residents, and colleagues as it's been a guide for me that fateful morning. Second thing, friends, is paradox of choice causes regret even after you make a choice. With the vast array of choices, you enter this dizzying spiral of looking for the perfect choice. And the irony of it all is that you make a choice, but you quickly regret it as you have this sense that there's something better, there's something more perfect, there's something better out there. And ask yourself, how did your grandparents meet? If you're like most, the story is a heartwarming story of young love and innocence. My maternal grandfather met my grandmother in a small village where he was a farmer, and he dropped off his harvest in the village center, and their eyes met, and he invited her for a soda under the olive tree in town. And the rest, as they say, is history. And they were happily married for over 60 years before my grandfather died. Nowadays, we have an almost infinite amount of choices with dating apps like Tinder or Bumble, and no longer restricted to our community. We have boundless possibilities of not only physical attributes of a future mate, but not bound by geography anymore either. So once you've met a match, you're always asking yourself, is there something better out there? Which leads us to number 3. Paradox of choice leads to escalation of expectations. So with unlimited choices, we are led down the slippery slope of perfection. And as it relates to medicine, looking for the perfect residency spot or the perfect job. As one goes through all these options, one thing that becomes very, very evident is one doesn't want to make the wrong choice, but also one doesn't even have the skills to even make a good choice. And the lines blur between what good is compared to what is perfect. So in 2006, Iyengar et al. Tracked senior college students as they searched for jobs. They looked at items such as the difficulty in decision, the desired number of options, how they did it, how they felt. And what was astonishing yet incredibly accurate as our current landscape in medicine, according to the study, the group of individuals called maximizers, which are individuals who make a choice who will reap the maximum benefit in the future, did consider more jobs, wanted more options in the role, and actually did receive $7,000 more in a starting salary compared to their colleagues who opted for more modest choices and options. But the story doesn't end there. Maximizers did have more. They had more pessimism, anxiety, stress, worry, overwhelm, depression, regret, disappointment, and less of content, optimism, happiness, and excitement. So all in all, they did do better objectively, but they did worse subjectively. So as a physician, does this sound familiar to you? It does, it should. So how can we make better choices, or how can our choices be better? Well, the first thing is give yourself fewer options. Paul Coelho says this beautifully when he says, it's the simple things in life that are the most extraordinary. So how often do you catch yourself going down this rabbit hole of making several inconsequential decisions throughout your day? Recall the last time you went to a new restaurant and began having angst, genuine angst about picking the right entree for your special night. Well, just for fun, turn to the waiter and have him pick 2 choices for you and you decide between them. I guarantee you will have a great, if not the most fantastic meal you've ever had. Why? Well, because having fewer choices frees you from wondering if the octopus here is good, or the salmon is good, or the steak is better. It frees you up, friends. Giving yourself fewer choices allows you to appreciate the event rather than the inconsequential you have to make. Small choices have a way of creeping into our daily routines and become just that, part of our daily routine. So before you know it, your day is filled with small, inconsequential distractions that keep you from reaching your goals. So here's my pro tip for you. If you are struggling, really struggling with this, make a pact with your spouse or your friend or your colleague or your significant other that when you catch yourself struggling with too many choices, have them select 2 for you, and you'll have to choose between those 2 options and those 2 options only. It's going to be awkward at first, but you'll get the tremendous effects of fewer choices on your overall wellness very quickly, that you will just naturally start doing this for yourself. So second thing, friends, is perfection is a mythical creature. Now, as high-achieving, goal-oriented physicians, we are perhaps hardwired to achieve. And with that, there's this tendency to chase perfection. But in that pursuit, we must ask ourselves, are we chasing perfection, or are we just delaying progress? So let me explain. I want each and every one of you to have oversized goals and ambitions. And that's fundamental for us here at Medicine Revived. But have you caught yourself telling others, or maybe in your own mind, that the project or goal that you're currently working on has to be perfect? I know I have. Even with the Medicine Revived channel that I have here on the podcast, I would re-record an entire episode, even after all the editing was complete, if I felt the sentence was out of place or my inflection wasn't where it needed to be. And that's when I started going down this road of there's too many options here. I'm chasing perfection. But I'm going to let you in on a bit of a secret. Progress is better than perfection. This is especially true in aspects of our lives that are so vitally important to our wellness. So here's my pro tip. Focus on getting 1% better on one thing. One choice, one outcome. And I can already feel the resistance that many of you are feeling. You've crafted a life filled with so many moving parts that any change will dismantle all of this that you've created. I'm also here to tell you that, yes, you can do it. You know, there's a great saying, done is better than perfect, and that's credit to Mark Zuckerberg from Facebook. In Menlo Park, California, where Facebook headquarters resides, the phrase, done is better than perfect, is painted all over the company's inner walls. And it's a reminder that it will never be perfect. Our careers will never be perfect, nor will our home life. Resist perfectionism and focus on growth instead. There's a CNBC article written by Riley D. Leon where Zuckerberg explains that instead of debating for days whether a new idea is possible or what the best way to build something is, hackers, which is what they're called, would rather just prototype something and see what works. So that's a great reminder for all of us. Third thing, friends, is surround yourself with close relationships. Nowadays, our work is global and online, and in that, close relationships are hard to come by. And I feel that every successful physician should create their own tribe of mentors. When success guru Napoleon Hill interviewed Andrew Carnegie about the secret of his success, he replied that it would be traced back to what he describes as the sum total of the minds of his business partners. In his book, The Law of Success, Hill defines this mastermind group as a mind that is developed through the harmonious cooperation of two or more people who align themselves for the purpose of accomplishing any given task. So here's my pro tip, friends. Focus on close, quality relationships rather than an abundance of acquaintances. If you want to accelerate your success, find people who have achieved the success you are looking for. They'll be farther along their journey than you are, but seek these individuals out. They have a map of success, so there's no need to discover new waters. Model their behavior, learn from their wins and their losses. So Tony Robbins says it perfectly, where he says, if we surround ourselves with people who are successful, who are forward-moving, who are positive, who are focused on producing results, who support us, it will challenge us to be more and do more and share more. If you surround yourself with people who will never let you settle for less than you can be, you have the greatest gift that anyone can hope for. So friends, your happiness is waiting. I will leave you with one final thought. It's a poem by Sylvia Plath, written within the book, The Bell Jar. It goes like this. I saw my life branching out before me like the green fig tree in the story. From the tip of every branch, like a fat purple pig, a wonderful future beckoned and winked. One fig was a husband and a happy home and children. And another fig was a famous poet. And another fig was a brilliant professor. And another fig was E. Guy, the amazing editor. And another fig was Europe and Africa and South America. And another fig was Constantine and Socrates and Attila and a pack of other lovers with queer names and offbeat professions. Another fig was an Olympic lady crew champion. And beyond and above these figs were many more figs. I couldn't quite make out. I saw myself sitting in the crotch of this fig tree, starved to death, just because I couldn't make up my mind which of the figs I would choose. I wanted each and every one of them, but choosing one meant losing all the rest. And as I sat there, unable to decide, the figs began to wrinkle and go black, and one by one, they plopped to the ground at my feet. So friends, start today. I and the rest of the Medicine Revive community are here to help. So make sure you hit the subscribe button below, hit the bell just below this video so you get yourself access to all the new videos that I put out every single week. And make sure you share with 3 of your friends. So until next time, be good to yourself and each other. We'll talk again soon. Bye-bye.